Bear Talk is produced by the Golden Bear Gazette, Mount Juliet High School's student newspaper.
Hello, welcome back to Bear Talk. We are excited to bring you the latest episode of your school news. I'm your host, Abbie Scoby. Today, we have two very special guests who are self-proclaimed experts on the topic of Hunger Games. Would you please introduce yourselves?
I'm Addie Savley. I would say I'm an expert because I've read the books over and over, watched the movies over and over, and I do have a Pinterest board full of Hunger Games, so I don't know what to say about it.
Oh no.
And I'm Jessica Reeves. I would say that I'm an expert because I read the books in middle school when Hunger Games hit its peak, and I've seen the movies half a dozen times, plus I am a diehard PETA supporter.
Okay, so as you may know, one of the first things that comes to mind when people think Hunger Games is the Hanging Tree song. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about that and how it's significant to the movie, and maybe more so in the books, since I've not personally read the books, I've watched all the movies, so I wanted to hear you guys' perspectives on it.
So yeah, with the Hanging Tree song, I think it'll be really interesting to see with the new movie how they have its origins, because with the original movies, all you saw was Katniss's involvement with the Hanging Tree song, and you just saw her in her revolutionary state and how it was used to depict that.
Right.
But it's great that we're going to see in the new movie where it came from, and we're going to see a girl who also had the same dreams as Katniss bringing that about.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of Lucy Gray, Addie, do you know how her character actually relates to Katniss from the old movies?
So it's pretty cool. Lucy Gray, with the Hanging Tree song, she wrote it and she sang it first. And then once you get to Katniss is like this embodiment of Lucy Gray in the past, kind of, and the revolution that Lucy Gray wanted to have.
Some would say mocking her, perhaps.
Mocking Mockingjay. I mean, the Katniss is the Mockingjay, and so it's cool to see the full circle moment, because it starts with Lucy Gray in the prequel, and then you get to see Katniss finish it out.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so speaking of the old movies, in comparison to the new movie coming out, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Primrose and Gale's plan. You know how that affected Katniss and her development throughout the movie and the books. Jessica, would you like to start us off, please?
Oh,
Yeah, Jess.
okay. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm an avid PETA defender.
Which means hating Gale at all times, apparently.
So my thing with Gale is that, yes, I understand that the situation was a military idea and that it was either what's better for the many versus what's bad for the few. But I would also like to say, though, that I feel like Gale is a very self-centered person who is very selfish. And and when he originally brought up the idea, many people were like, hey, we probably shouldn't kill all these innocent bystanders, especially the children. And so, you thought the idea went away. But it came back up. And Katniss' sister literally died because of Gale and his pride.
What a lover.
And exactly. And so the thing is whenever you think back to this one moment in history, it's always going to be that guy, Gale, came up with this idea. So he'll forever be embodied.
Look, I'm not going to defend everything he did, but I do think that he didn't intend to kill his crush's sister. I mean, I think his plan was for the military that he thought was good. Now, I don't know. I'm not defending his actions. I don't think that's. Hold on, I can't say that.
I can't do that.
But did he have an active role in actually executing it, or was it just his idea that people took from him?
In the books, Gale is someone who sets traps. He's killing the animals to eat. So he brings it over into, especially the third book, into planning the war and planning war strategies. So that was something he came up with, and I don't know if he thought it was going to be used or if he was brainstorming. I'm not sure the book really goes way into it, but was it his plan? Yes. Did he mean to kill Prim? Obviously not.
Yeah.
But it was past the bombs. It was
Whatever.
the fact that it went more.
But guess what?
The
Yeah.
reeling them back in.
Whatever.
Well, speaking of our boy Gale, I wanted to touch on that little rivalry. Before I state anything, I would like to reiterate that I've limited knowledge on the books, and I've only watched the movies once, so my knowledge is quite faded. So, the Gale versus Peeta backstory. It's going to be a little bit of a hot take, so prepare yourselves, but I don't think Peeta ever truly loved Katniss.
Wow,
And
Scoby. Wow.
Fighting words.
And I'm not the only one who thinks that, but
I'd say you're in the minority.
perhaps
1%.
so. Perhaps, but I also, whatever. I have no defense. I just like Gale better, and I
Wow.
think Peeta's really sad character.
Okay, let me just start with, I think people only liked Gale in the movies because he had a conventionally attractive actor playing him. I don't think people really liked him as much in the books.
Are you saying that Peeta's unattractive?
Absolutely not.
I wouldn't say that. I would just say I think people just were more drawn to Gale than they were in the books. And so
He had his popularity then.
Yeah, for sure. So I think Peeta, when you look at the relationship with Peeta and Katniss, he was always a support. So maybe they weren't in love with each other. They were only 16. But they went through a lot together, and I don't think Gale could ever relate to it.
See, I think that they were in love from the start. I think, like,
Wait, to clarify, Gale and Katniss?
No, Peeta and
Oh,
Katniss.
I see.
No, we all know Gale was in love with Katniss, but Peeta was pining over her since, like, their little grade school, and he
true.
had been head over heels. He made sacrifices for her even before the Hunger Games, like when he threw her out the bread, and he literally took a beating from his parents for it. And then
True
you get,
love.
I know.
So true.
And then you get to the Hunger Games, and he is defending Katniss constantly. And the biggest thing from the separation from Gale versus Peeta is that Peeta was always the one that made sure Katniss was safe, while Katniss was always protecting others around her. And he always worried about her safety. And he also just, whenever Katniss needed somebody, she always went to Peeta. And I think that says something a lot about it.
So as a friendly rebuttal, who else is she even going to talk to be honest? Like, there's not really many people that she can talk to, so of course it's going to be someone from her district. Also, I feel like Gale was actually protecting what she had at home. The whole reason Katniss went into the Hunger Games is because she was protecting her people at home, which Gale was doing while she was away. And I think a lot of the things that Peeta did to quote-unquote protect Katniss during the Hunger Games was a lot of press stunts to protect himself. I feel like that's my opinion.
I think every press stunt he ever did was for Katniss. I mean, if you saw, like, in the first movie, he says, basically says he has a crush on Katniss in the middle of the interview. Like, that's him protecting her because he can make it through, his interview just fine. Especially in the books, you figure out he's very charismatic and can win things over. So I think he's protecting Katniss, and I think throughout the movies, you see everything he does is to protect Katniss.
All right, and quickly, just because I'm sure the viewers are dying to know, are you guys team Peeta or Gale?
I mean, I think it's obvious.
It's Peeta.
Yeah, we're both Peeta. We're both team Peeta.
Contrary to
Contrary to your host beliefs,
contrary
we
to
are
host
team
belief,
Peeta.
I'm team Gale. Very sorry, limited knowledge. That's what I'm blaming it on.
It's the movie lovers.
I'm sorry. I'm a sucker for first
Fake
love.
fan.
I'm a sucker for first love. I don't know. Okay, moving on. Sorry. I want to talk a little bit more about the past tribute games. Addie, would you mind starting with Haymitch?
Yeah, Haymitch he's really complicated, especially in the books. You see, like, his drinking problem and that he's pretty checked out, especially in the beginning. He's been through a lot. There's a lot of background on his games and the way he was treated, but, he's got the drinking problem, so he's you know, he doesn't want to invest time in these tributes because he just watches them die over and over. So yeah, I mean, his games was a quarter quell, the 50th, and it was a lot. So I think that's why the way he is his games.
I'm sure it was very taxing. Okay, well, thank you so much. And for our final piece of this segment, I want to talk a little bit about how we anticipate the new movie to be, especially with our villain, Snow.
Yes.
I hear that we're going to be learning more about his background and seeing that kind of perspective. Jessica, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I actually am really excited for this new version of Snow that we're going to be able to see. So with, like, recently there's been a lot of makes of villains where we have made where their decisions have been more justifiable, but with Suzanne Collins' writing, she does an amazing job of showing Snow's past without making him any less of a villain.
Right.
And so I'm really excited for us to see what happened to make him become the person that you see in the originals, because he's a very complicated individual, and Finnick actually, I love in the movies and books, Finnick hints at the fact that Snow has a very complicated past, and we're finally seeing it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Addie, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big reader, so I love like watching when books get made into movies. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I feel like it'll be good. I think I'm excited to watch the characters and the actors and see how they do, so it'll be cool.
All right. Well, thank you two so much for joining us on this Bear Talk. And for our listeners for this podcast who will be viewing the new Hunger Games movie this Friday or on the other release dates, please consider tagging us at MJ_Bear Talk. We would love to hear your opinions and your experience with the new movie. Thank you so much for listening. If you have a news tip or would like for us to feature a topic on our next episode, please drop a note in our Dropbox outside B118. Please also give us a follow on our socials at MJ_Bear Talk. Before we catch you on our next episode, here are a few announcements. As you may know, Veterans Day was this Saturday, and we have 5 veterans who work at MJHS. Mr. Gary Brewster, Sergeant Major Jonathan Clark, Mr. Jeff Etheridge, Major Al Intilli, and Mr. Bill Schwartz. All served in the military, and we would like to thank them for their service. On Friday morning, November 10th, our vocal ensemble performed a special rendition of America the Beautiful in honor of Veterans Day. You can view the performance at MT Juliet Bears. Also, on this past Saturday, our JRTC program hosted the 248th Marine Corps Birthday Ball. It was a great night honoring the Marine Corps birthday as well as current and former military members. The Mount Juliet Hockey Club remains in the top division and faces off against NBA at 8:30 at Centennial Sportsplex, and admission is free. And we'd love to see you there tonight for the game. And as you may know, new members of National Honor Society will be inducted on Thursday, November 30th at 6 p.m. in the theater. Family and friends are welcome to attend. That's all we have for you today. Stay classy, MJ, and may the odds be ever in your favor. That they know how to boogie. They can boogie down. Boogie on down. But that I feel like that's a little cringy.